Great. Today's reading is from the Unfettered Mind, writings of Takuan by William Scott Wilson. Really good book. And also from Ecclesiastes, the Holy Bible, one of the longest running chain letters in history. Ecclesiastes, book 1, chapter 1, meaningless. It's a good read. You should read the whole thing. The Unfettered Mind refers to stillness, emptiness. Literally translates from the Japanese as the immovable mind of the infinite record or the divine record. So when they're talking about the immovable mind, they mean the mind that is not affected by external things. So the mind is not displaced. It's not off-balanced. It doesn't become attached to things that are external. So if you grab my wrist like this and I get attached to the fact that you're holding onto my wrist, I will either give up and, which will never happen, or I'll fight against it, which is not very productive. And if without the unfettered mind, no technique works. But if I try to move and pull, there will always be resistance and you will always be able to do it. So you have great techniques like this, where you bring the arm up and fold it over backwards like that. Well, that's great, but it will not work against somebody who is conscious and angry or afraid or something, because as soon as I try to do this, you extend your arm and you counter it. The technique will not work. And that work, you are able to fight against it because I become attached to your arm, to your strength, to your thing. As Takuan said, if you become attached to your opponent's sword, you will be cut down. If you get attached to your own sword, you'll be cut down. If you get attached to the space between you, to the timing, to the distancing, to any aspect of the fight, if you get attached, you'll be cut down. So if I get attached to the technique, the idea of doing a technique, it won't work. But if I don't get attached to it, if I don't fight against you, then I can do that. It's only when I'm attached to you and I try to make the technique happen that you fight against it. So if you're holding onto my arm with the intent of controlling me and controlling my spine and possibly punching me with the other hand, then my attempt to do this will fail because you'll just respond to it. The way you naturally respond to it, you'll engage. So what I have to do is the moment I follow the natural or the appropriate way to move, which is initially the start of what the technique should be, as soon as I initiate that, you respond to it. If I am still attached to doing the technique, I will fail. If I am still attached to the way of doing the technique, I will fail. But if I relax and I follow that emptiness, then you cannot resist me because I'm not resisting you. There is no enemy, right, in that aspect. There's no enemy, as this is another, the sword of no sword, Teshu. There is, there we go. Here, if there is no enemy, if I'm not resisting or fighting against anything, if I'm able to change, then I can move without, you feel the difference?
Yes.
Okay, so how would you can you describe the difference?
You move into the place where my force isn't.
Okay.
So as you move, I automatically start to resist, and then you move to where you're pivoting around my resistance. You're in like the void. Mm-hmm. You're in this empty space. And then as I try to regain that, it moves you further into the void.
Right.
Or the hole. And then I fall into the hole with you.
Yes.
At the end.
Yeah. So
that's what it feels like.
Yeah, when you're doing Toisho, you're doing pushing hands. If you're really good at Toisho, really good at Tai Chi pushing hands, then what happens is, one of my teachers, it's like trying to pick up a tomato seed with chopsticks. Right? So the seed is just going to move every time you move and you squeeze it. And the tomato seed isn't doing anything. It's just being a tomato seed. Right? It's like when you're floating on a log in the water. The log is just being a log. The water is just being water. It doesn't have anything against the person who is trying to balance on it. But okay. It moves.
So with the mind thing, would it be, my mind is here. Mm-hmm. But then you're not there anymore.
That's right.
So then my mind tries to catch you in the next place, but you're not there again.
That's right. So you are increasingly attached to the conflict between what I am doing and what you want me to do. But I am not attached to that. So another way you can think of this, when you do a preemptive strike, okay, so if you punch me and I go like that preemptive strike, so as you punch, and your mind moves, it gets moved by that, right to there. So that gives me the ability, or if you punch, right, I move your mind there, okay? So you punch, and we punch there together. So your mind gets moved to there. And if I am attached to your fist, I get hit by it. Right? But if I am neither attached to it nor separate from it, so as you punch, I think, oh, we're punching now. Then that's where we go. And I can continue as long as you are continuing. But as soon as you regain your balance, that technique will not work anymore. I cannot be attached to that idea. You punch, and I go like this. Now, I think I'm going to continue and throw you, but you're balanced. You become stable. So I have to change, and I have to flow, and I cannot be attached to anything that you're doing. So the irony, of course, the translation means the immovable mind, but we often see it as the liberated mind, meaning the mind is able to move freely without getting attached or stuck on a particular idea. I don't get moved by the opponent.
It's like tomato, tomato.
Tomato, tomato, yeah. So when you hold my arm, if I try to fight against it, you have me. I'm stuck. Here, let me get this. If you grab my wrist and you try to hold it there, and I try to escape from it, you are strong. There are very few people who will deny that you're strong. That's one of your things. Right? So. And your hands, I have little Donald Trump hands compared to like the kind of power you've got there. So from here, this is effortless, right? Because I'm not attached. Because I'm not attached to making the technique work in a particular way. I haven't practiced by rote. I've practiced by consciousness.
You're feeling the pressure.
Right. So when you practice a solo form, it's not going to be the same twice. You're not going to repeat the same movement over and over again. You're finding new ways, more efficient ways of doing it every time. That's how you improve your form. That's how you improve the movement. If you just do the movement without that consciousness and that awareness, then when you try to do the technique, it becomes this. And I'm going to go this way, and well, that didn't work. And then you say, this technique doesn't work. Well, the technique doesn't work because it's not a technique. It's a method. It's a principle. It's a feeling. That it's going to change. And it has to change. And it's going to change right from the moment that you think of grabbing.
Okay.
Right? So if you push me, and I immediately think about the push, I get pushed. If you have strength, and I think about the strength, I confront the strength. I will find it. If I worry about the strongest part of the attack, I will find the strongest part of the attack. But if you push, and I am still and empty, then when that push comes in, I can redirect it this way or that way or this way. And this is going to change instantly. Now, how many times? The mind can change about 27 times a second. With normal mental, neural, physiological processes, you can physically respond to a stimulus about 11 times a second. You can change your mind. It's possible to do that if you train for it. Most people can respond in about a fifth of a second with a little bit of training. But people who haven't trained, it takes a fifth of a second for them to realize that something has happened. And it takes another fifth of a second to a second for them to do anything about it. It's like, like that. Whereas if you've trained just a little, in that fifth of a second. If you train harder, then in a tenth of a second, you've already moved. If you train a lot and you practice with consciousness and sensitivity, then there comes to be a point where you're like Adam Chan, you move before the other guys realize that he's even realized he's moving. So when, pragmaticmartialarts.com, he's really good. When somebody makes up their mind to attack, how they're going to attack is often determined several seconds before they actually commit the attack, sometimes even before they are aware that they have made up their mind. So if you're relaxed and empty, then you can become conscious of the predictable outcomes and the less predictable outcomes. You can become aware of that and take action that covers all of the bases, which in a lot of cases is that. So he's going to come with this hand or that foot, or what's he going to do? Well, if I do that, then that preempts all of that.
Okay.
And if they are still thinking about what they're going to do, they're not going to be aware of what you're doing. So the mind gets caught in these things all the time. It's one of the reasons why fights always end up in a messy, grappling thing and finally going down, unless somebody's got really good technique. It's why long-range fighters often end up close range and grappling, even because they're just trying to get away from the other stuff. They get caught up in all of those variables. It's like, that was that exercise you were talking about, but the guy with the, you're on the ground, you're trying to deal with the guy with the knife who's on top of you, and then somebody else comes along and starts kicking you.
Yes.
Right, and slow motion, that's really hard. Yeah. When it picks up to regular speed, like you said, your brain gets overloaded. There's way too much data. Yeah. And it doesn't take that much stuff to shut the brain down. The brain can be shut down by, like that, or, hey, just a little distraction like that can shut a person's mind down. So when you grab my arms and you control them, and I'm trying to fight against you, and if you tuck your elbows in and you use your power like that, like I'm in really big trouble here because I am outmatched as far as strength and basically grappling technique. You're way better at this than I am. Right? So I cannot confront you on that. And in fact, if people watching knew how strong his grip was, it's amazing that I can feel my fingers at all right now. So from here, thank you, that's easy. So, but if you're holding on and you're controlling, and you want to do that, what I do, the last thing I want to do is try to control. I don't want to try to fight against you. You see how the effort is, the strength is gone when I stop fighting against it. Yes. There is no enemy if you do not have an enemy. So when you grab and you control, and I fight against it, then I am toast. I'm going to be, whatever. Whatever you want to do, you've got, as long as I'm still fighting against it. If I stop fighting against it, then I have some freedom to move. It's effortless, even if you maintain that grip. But I don't have that kind of strength to fight against it. Okay, if you grab my wrist, and I'm, there's nothing that's gonna work. Right? But if I have, if I liberate my mind from that, okay. So if I grab you, this is going to be hilarious. There's no point really. So if I grab you and try to control you and you fight against me, right? Even then, I have a slight advantage, because you are responding to this, okay, and I am ahead of the game. Okay, but if you relax and I try to do this, I've got nothing. You can move around at will. Okay. There's really nothing. I can hold on as tightly as I want, and you just relax. There's nothing. I've got nothing. Okay. So from here, I fight against you, it's trouble. If I don't fight against you, there. It's... Right, but these moments when you go, got the arm. I've lost everything else. Right? But if I just make myself comfortable and I go, oh, that hurts when you grab really hard like that. What am I going to do? Like that. So, you're being really nice, right? But we're still able to make the point, which is good. So from here, if I have that, but the changes are not just about the connection and the engagement at that point of contact where the resistance is. The changes are inside. I have to be able to feel, how are you connecting to my feet? This is where the solo practice comes in, where the standing and where the routine and the forms go. I want to be able to feel how that engages there. So I got thinking about my connection to my feet. You kept moving and controlling, and I forgot about your hands and my connection to my shoulders, and you had me off balance. Right? So I have to be empty and flow and natural. So now you're attached, and you're basically looking down the barrel of the gun right now. Mm-hmm. Okay, but I'm not doing anything. That's why I'm able to have that advantage. As soon as I try to do something, then you can counter and throw me. I get attached to that idea. But as long as I stay still and empty, then I have infinite potential, and I can respond to what you do effortlessly. It's when I start thinking, I'm going to do this. Well, no, you're not. It's every time you say, there's a technique, I'm going to do this. It's like sticking your head up without your helmet on. Okay. So you have to keep down and relaxed and think, oh, gee, I didn't know there was that there. You develop qualities of structure and method and the ability to flow and to not fight yourself. And that ability to not fight yourself and to be constantly balanced effortlessly with the ground, like a string of pearls balanced on end. That means that when you push, you're pushing the earth or you're pushing nothing. Okay. So if you are exactly on line, you're pushing the earth, and that's just going to bounce back at you. And if I'm relaxed, then I can use the appropriate leverage and do the stupid master tricks like that. So From here, I just do that. And all that was this, just relaxing. But it works because it's connected to the ground. People see that and go, oh, that's fake. Well, I hope they say that, because that's what really good Tai Chi looks like. You know, if you do it really well, it should look fake. Unfortunately, if you do it fake, it also looks fake. But the question is, where is the Newtonian mechanics in it? Where is that structure? And the structure is in the way the hips rotate imperceptibly, like a hip rotation. You don't see the hip rotation that actually does that. All right, so people get attached to this and they can't pivot. They pivot around their center line and they can't feel the rotation in the hips because they're stuck on the need to resist against something. All right, but if you're not attached to it, then you can switch hips. Right? So when you try to control me, you go to grapple. Like that, I relax and I let it move. I'm in a horribly vulnerable position right now. You should be able to defeat me very easily. But if I'm not attached, you can't get that. Okay? I just almost gave you an idea about how you could have tossed me on my head right there, but I'm not going to do that right now. You could have. But there we go. Now I'm in trouble. Now I'm not. Now I'm not. Now I'm not. Okay. So being conscious of your knees as well. But if you get into a position like that, if I tense up, you've got me. I'm finished. There's no reason why I should survive in a situation like that. But if I can relax and be empty, and you're not, you get attached, then I can put the fulcrum one place or another, and I'm liberated. Okay. All right? So the mind you cannot move me, even though you've got a grip, even though you're in a much stronger position. So it gets more difficult when you get into, I'm in a really bad position like this, but I can still do it. And if you change the rules, I can do that. But from here, if I get attached to it, you've got me. If I relax and I become empty and I allow the changes to happen constantly, then I have a chance. But, so, this is what we need, and I'm still going to be out of breath, because you're getting the hang of this. And so here, for most people, what would happen if I were a normal person?
Well, you're going to try and jackhammer me with that hand.
But what would you do?
What would I do?
Yeah.
Well, I'm not here.
Yeah. Okay, so go back again. Do that. Now stay exactly where you are. Do not think about doing anything else. Just relax and connect to the ground. There, now what can you do? There. You just saved yourself a movement.
Okay.
So that's because you're there, you're attached to a particular, what are the risks of this position? What are the risks of another position? But if you relax and you go, oh, well, this position has just changed. There. Like that. So the movements become very small.
Okay.
But the changes are infinite within that.
Circles inside the circles?
That's right. Yeah, you've just increased the number of gears in the machine. So it becomes a lot easier for you to pedal the bike. So from here, I think, okay, I'm going to get behind, I'm going to do this technique. Right? Or I'm here and I just relax. Oh, it's over already. If you can do that, that means, the kind of attachments that people have. The attachment is not just to your fist and my fist and the space and the timing and the distancing in between. It's the relationship between my thoughts, my emotions, my posture, the connection to the ground, how the fascia are connected, how the body is aligned. Like that. If I try to fight against you, there's no way it's going to work. But if I can relax, then you have nothing. Right? You suddenly feel threatened, and all I've done is not resist you.
I have nowhere to push.
Yeah. So, and if you do push, you know it's going to end badly. Right? So what do? You relax more. There you go. Now I am in trouble because you've relaxed and you've regained the advantage there. So I have to relax. And then you have to relax, and I have to relax, and we become, now you're tense. Okay? So, and you're going, yeah, and the mind goes, yeah, that's why Paul McCaughey used to get me off balance all the time by saying, that was really good.
The compliment.
The compliment defense, yes. And then, of course, my feet didn't touch the floor for the next 5 minutes. But that was his strategy, was to just say, oh, that was really good. You've really improved a lot. Really? Boom, 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 boom. Yeah, because your mind gets stuck on that idea. There we go. Now you've got me. If you're relaxed and still and empty, then you have that. and because I was tense. But if I'm here and I'm relaxed and you try to do that as a technique, it's not going to work because I'm empty, because I have that still point, drilling right into that spot there. And so I cannot overpower you. I cannot be stronger than you. I cannot get bigger or stronger or faster really quickly, but I can relax and find the infinite number of possibilities within that split second. See there? There was a joint lock, you countered. Okay, there was a thumb lock, there's this, you countered that, you countered that, you countered that. There's 5 things you're changing in a second. And if I keep talking, I'm not going to be able to keep up. So the changes, and we're doing light, friendly stuff out here. We're not even getting into the inside core stuff. We're not getting into real silk reeling power right now. And we're not getting into, that kind of power. Or that, which is this kind of the Tai Chi stuff. Right? We're just thinking of the technique on the outside. It's like a friendly conversation rather than a fight. As soon as we get in, the conversation becomes a little more deep and a little more profound.
Yeah, except you're talking to a 6-year-old.
Don't underestimate those 6-year-olds. There, that's it. So here I'm in a horrible position from a Sui-jiao point perspective. My legs in front. All you need to do, if your knee were a little better, is drill into the ground with your left thigh and drop your left hip. There you go. Oh. Pang. Right, you're there. You're already in a position to do a throw. This is part the horse's mane. Like that. You've got this advantage. I'm on the inside thinking I'm going to throw you, but I can't throw you because you have the fulcrum. Right, so I have to change the fulcrum and change the direction of the whole thing in order to pry you off that way. But I can do that. There are an infinite number of possible changes that I can make within that position, within that moment, not even a particular period of time. Within that moment, there are an infinite number of possibilities. If I'm attached to one, I lose the 64 others. There's the 64 other obvious ones, and the infinite potential that comes up from there. So there, that's it. I fight against your knee, then I end up becoming a victim of that fulcrum. But if I go there and I relax into that fulcrum and I use it, I can change the direction of it, and then you get moved. So I do the impossible throw. It's ridiculous. I shouldn't be able to do that. I should have to be behind you to do that. But I can do it while I'm in front of you because I'm not attached to that being your fulcrum. I can go here, like that, and I can go here. So that attachment that happens as soon as somebody goes, oh yeah, people get attached.
Okay.
You want to fight? Well, them's fighting words, right? There's that. Right? You say, you want to fight? And you go, oh look, a bird. There is no enemy. Right? You watch, it's like people focus so much on the enemy that they forget that they're losing the balance themselves. They think, oh no, there's this horrible enemy, and we can't let them into our country. There are 2.7 billion of them, and some of them are mean. So let's fight against all of them. So people don't recognize that not only is that person not your enemy, they're probably your ally, and they're probably your best defense against the person behind them who really wants to hurt you. This guy just wants to dance and get you out of the way of the coming train. When you go, hey, what are you doing here in my country? And you shoot him. Yeah, so, yeah. Relax. There. That's the look on the face of somebody who's just relaxed for the first time. They go, what? I didn't do anything. Exactly. First do nothing, then less than nothing. That's it. If I get attached to your push and I resist against it and I'm going to fight against that enemy, then I lose my balance. But if I don't, then there's no resistance. You can't resist that, even though I'm really not doing anything. But if I use force and I try to push against you, that happens. I go, I'm going to push this big, heavy, strong guy, and that's a bad strategy. An ineffective strategy. But if I just go, oh, look, I wonder what part of him wants to go this way. It's changing all the time. like that. There you go. Relax, 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 and just extend, flow. So, you know, when you have no enemy, then moving forward is like a hot knife cutting through fog.
Okay.
But you felt it, right?
Yeah.
You know, if I fight against you, I try to move you, it's not going to happen. But if I just say, oh, which way does he want to go? He wants to, what part of him wants to go that way? Not that part, not that part, not that part. There you go. So when you connect to the ground and you relax and you become empty and you engage my center and you feel where it wants to go and you let it, then you move me. When you see the strength of the resistance and you think, oh no, we've got to build a wall to stop that wall.
Okay.
So it'd be like Mexico saying, we're not going to pay for that wall. In fact, we're going to build our own wall to keep your wall from obstructing our view. Yeah, that would be the only thing more foolish than building the wall in the first place. Yeah. So, you know, they have boats, and there's an ocean on either side, and air, and you're not going to keep the birds out either. So, besides, those other people doing your job for you, huh? So, from here, you relax, connect to the ground, engage right from your center, just relax. And I'll think of going forward, but without resisting. Don't resist, don't fight against anything, just go forward, like I want to go. Find the part of me that wants to move, and then just walk forward. There, see? If I resist against it, then you just relax, there, and you change the angle just a little bit. If you push from here, if I resist against it, I find the strength. But if I relax, okay. How am I doing that? You're in a stronger position than I am. You're in a good rooted, connected, open up the back, plant on the front leg, there. So now you're solid. And that's fine. Now if I want to push through you, I want to uproot you, it's going to be difficult because you are now thinking about your balance and stillness and adapting to the changing situation. You're not attached. You become immovable because you're able to change. Okay. You're able to adapt. You become movable when you try to push me. Right? And now you get attached to something. You try to push back. So there, that's it. Now you're adapting. Right? So now you adapt and you flow, and now you go through. So if you start that way with the push, you think about me pushing you and cutting through that fog. Okay. Then what you do is you do that right back to me. You just adapt to my push, like you're making yourself stable. And that way, still you're pushing. You just think of not, there you go, there's nothing to push against. There, it becomes effortless. Huh? But I didn't do anything.
That's pretty much what's going on in my brain.
Mm-hmm. So that's good. Your brain is adapting. But as soon as I grab, you've got me. As soon as I go, oh, there's an arm, then everything else gets me. Right? Or I'm here, like this. I'm going to stop that fist from hitting me, and you just punch me with it. Right? It's not going to, if you do that again, and I say, oh, there's a fist. There you go. You adapt. So whoever becomes empty and still first wins. The last person to relax wins. That's it. So it goes back to this exercise. Remember this.
Oh, yes.
Okay. So you engage ahead of that. You don't fight against this thing here. You engage beyond that. There you go. So as I change direction, you're ahead of it, more or less, sort of. That's it. That's it. So if I go here, I'm going to run into trouble. But if I go, oh look, right, then we're still dancing. Right, so there we go. There, it doesn't work anymore. Remember that first time we did that? I think I got 175 times in a row.
Yes. And
now I can't get through. In fact, later that day, you had it. So the mind just has to become relaxed. Every time there's a thought, there's an emotion. Every time there's an emotion, there's a physical response. And if you get stuck on any one of those, People, we talk about relaxing the mind, clearing the mind, liberating the mind. That's where empowerment comes from. It comes from the mind being free and unattached. That's it. Right? If I had a knife and you stop the knife, use both hands, just control the arm. That's it. You've controlled the arm, you can control me because I am attached to the knife. Right, so here's my knife. Right, and you get in there, oh no, I've got to get control of my knife. Right, but if I relax, I go, oh, hey. You okay?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, if I get attached to it, then you can control me. But if I'm not attached to it, then that's it. So, there. That's it. And you relax, and I'm still attached to my knife. But I've got my knife. Still got my knife. Still got my knife. Thank you.
For what?
There we go. For learning this stuff. You got to be careful what you teach some people. They might learn it. Whew. And the freaky thing is that you already know most of the stuff I would teach plus way more. Right? I have a few skills that I practice that are an advantage under certain circumstances. And pretty soon, that's not going to work anymore. So it's this. Look, it's that arm again. See that arm? Well, there we go. See that arm? It's that attachment, right? Because you're so used to your strength working.
Yeah.
But the other thing is that you notice, I'm sure when you're teaching, is that people think it's your strength that beats them. But the fact that you're strong is a small part of it. And when you win, you do a lot of grappling, a lot of ground fighting and stuff like that. And how often do people say, "Oh, you're so strong"?
Like, I've been doing it now for 9 years, probably the first 8 years of it.
Yeah. And people would always say, "Oh, it's because you're so strong. It's because you're so strong." And you're saying, well, actually, that's not it. That's not why it was.
No, because if I can finish the round and I'm not breathing hard at all, and you're breathing really, really hard, it's probably because I'm putting myself in the right place and you're in the wrong place.
Yeah. Yeah, and people will think, you try to bend my arm, you try to push me, you control me, they think, wow, he's so strong, you can't bend his arm.
It's a bad angle.
Yeah, it's just the angle. And you change, I do this, or I do this, or I do this, or I do this, or I do this with my hip, or I do this with my hip. And now that changes it. So it's this rotation here, the rotation in the dantian, the rotation in the hip, like that. Now I'm using force as I make my point. But in reality, as you try to apply pressure, right, you're either going to be fighting the ground or nothing. But you're not fighting me. I'm certainly not strong enough to overcome your strength. And if you push me, both hands, and then if you push, if I'm relaxed and empty, then it just goes into the ground or it goes nowhere.
Okay.
But as soon as I become attached to it, and I go, oh, I've got to stop that, now you've got me. Right? But if I relax, then you're either going nowhere, which is most people will be doing most of the time, or they'll be fighting the earth, which has a really
poor win-loss record.
That's right. The earth, the thing with ground fighting is the ground always has better endurance. Like that. So from here, if I can relax and become empty, then all of this infinite potential, all of the vectors and that other leverage that we work on, they're good. And that continuous unbroken flow of chi. See this? Mm-hmm. This is me pretending to attempt to control. Right, when in fact it's a way to let go, to get you off my arm. You're here, I guess I go here. Oh, I'm going to take your arm. Well, no, I'm not actually. I'm just going to make you think that I'm taking it. There. And as soon as I start to use strength against you, it's great practicing with you because as soon as I use strength, I lose. Because you have more of that. Right, there's no way to win a fight when you start using overwhelming strength and force. Because you'll end up paying the price many times over. So you're using force. Do that again. So you're here. You want to control my arm. There. Okay. Uh-huh. Now control my arm and then uncontrol my arm. Okay. Right, so if you're fighting against it, I can do something. But if you don't do it, then now you're following.
Okay.
So as I straighten my arm, I could only do that because you were tense. But as soon as I do this, now I've just given you my elbow.
Okay.
So that's again that attachment to. As Master Yang said, I have a nuclear bomb, but I only use pistol. relax. There you go. Relax more here. Relax more here. There we go. No, keep that still. Don't apply force here. Move the part that on the other side that doesn't have anything resisting it at all. That's it. Attachment, or the movable mind, is sort of like setting up a crowbar to pry a rock off the ground. So you've set it up, but you're attached to the weight and to the effort that's needed to lift that. So rather than using the lever efficiently, you set it all up, and then you go down and you lift the wrong end.
Okay.
So that's what happened there. You get into this position, and you have the lever all set up, and then you go, like this. You try to lift the wrong end rather than, oh, it's this side that moves. This is the end of the crowbar that I push against. And there's nothing resisting that end. Okay? So when you're in this position here, and you relax, and you move the side that has nothing resisting against it, and you move me. That's pung, or part the horse's mane, or cloud hands, or white crane spreads wings. Any of that is you've got something that's really solid, and everything moves around the other side. It's effortless. Yet people get here and they go, I'm going to lift this. Yeah, I'm going to use force. So you find the easiest way to move the person rather than the hardest way. That's the easiest way. I use the same technique, and I go, come on. That's the hardest way. Right? But if I use the easiest way, it's still going to move. I just keep adapting and changing the fulcrum to allow you to find the way that you want to do what I want you to do.
Okay.
Does that make any sense at all?
Yes.
Okay, good. Okay, good. Okay, let's fight. Ready?
Yep.
Where'd he go?